Still with me this hour, family law and trial attorney Jenny Brown, and here in studio, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Franz Burkhardt. All right, Franz, let's start with this. We have the state saying it was intentional. We have the defense saying the drugs killed her. Where do you think this falls as the jury's deliberating?
I think the problem for the defense is the cause of death isn't the drugs. It's the strangulation, right? So if it were which came first, the chicken or the egg situation, where the coroner or the state's expert said, hey, it could have been the drugs, but it could have been, that's not what we have. And we didn't have anything to contradict that evidence. So I don't think they're on firm footing. And I think that look, attacking a victim based on lifestyle, based on drug use, based on what she was doing, that's always a dangerous game. And if the jury gets angry about it, it's not going to bode well. So I think this is going to be a clear conviction.
Okay, so I want to listen, because that is exactly one of the pieces that we've pulled to talk about, and that is that medical examiner testimony of what the cause of death is and what it's not. Let's listen together.
Ultimately, what did you determine the cause of death was in this case?
Asphyxia due to strangulation.
How much pressure needs to be applied to block the airway or occlude the blood vessels?
So it's relatively little amount of pressure.
When somebody is being strangled, do they just go from alive to dead?
The brain has about 5 to 10 seconds of reserve oxygen if you completely cut off that blood supply. So they'll still remain conscious for a period of time while being strangled. Once the brain uses up that reserve oxygen, the brain can no longer perform its most basic function, which is essentially keeping the lights on and keeping the person conscious. They will then go unconscious at that point. They will go completely limp. They'll fall to the ground. They will no longer have any control of their faculties. They are unconscious. At that point, whether they live or die is largely in literally the hands of the strangler. And the vast majority of young, healthy, non-intoxicated people, if you strangle someone to unconsciousness and immediately let go, they will wake up. It may take a couple minutes. It may take a few seconds. They'll be confused. They'll be disoriented, similar to what we see when people maybe pass out, faint, or have a seizure. And then over the course of the next several minutes, they'll sort of regain what's going on, and they may say, "What happened to me?" In the cases of loss of consciousness, that person will, unless they have some sort of internal injury, will survive and go on with the rest of their life without really any consequences. However, in every individual, when they lose consciousness, if you continue to maintain pressure on the neck, there comes a point where even when you let go, the brain has been deprived of oxygen long enough that it won't have that drive to tell the body, oh, we need to start breathing again. Okay. And that point is going to be different for every person. Generally, for young, healthy people, that timeline is somewhere around 60 to 90 seconds.
Jenny, I think it's so hard to listen to that 60 to 90 seconds where if the brain doesn't get enough oxygen, you release, they're dead, they're not going to wake up. But he also did say, to Franz's point, that, listen, the cause of death was not the drugs that the defense had said, oh, it's due to her drug use. What do you make of this defense?
I think that it's going to be a pretty quick guilty verdict here. The problem is that ex-wife told her story, the facts match the story, and then they were able to recover the body, and the coroner is, again, aligning to that same story. It's not like the defense was able to bring in a witness or an expert on their side that said something different to give the jury something even to think about. So I'm guessing that this is going to be a pretty quick guilty verdict.
And I know we're at 1 hour, 30 minutes now. We're going to talk about what means quick to each of you in a minute. But first, I want to talk about one of the things you mentioned, and that is the wife's testimony. I felt that it was very credible that he had said he had accidentally strangled this beautiful young lady, and versus what I want to listen to together. And that is, he says, hey, the wife made that up. Let's listen.
We're aware that you told at least one person what went down with them. You got carried away while you were engaged with her, having sex or whatever it was you guys were doing. You got a little carried away choking her, then she passed away. And put her on top of the force mains on your parents' property. That's a great story. You know, because I think it's a tragedy. It's not true. I don't know who told you that, but it's not the truth. I have no idea who would say something like that about me.
All right, Franz, which do you believe? The defendant saying she made it up, wife at the time, or the wife at the time, now ex-wife's testimony that he told her he accidentally strangled her?
That is the most defensible part of the case for the defendant, right? The ex-wife is a woodsman. She has an axe to grind. That's, to me, that makes logical sense. There's reasonable doubt as to that. However, look at the other gingerbread trail we have. Someone who's admitting and conceding, I kind of like strangling, right? Didn't kill her, those were the drugs, but I kind of like strangling. Cause of death, strangling. So, ex-wife by herself, very defensible. With the cumulative evidence, however, it doesn't look great, right?
All right, so let's start with an hour and almost 40 minutes, and you both, I think, have indicated expecting probably a fairly quick conviction. Is this quick or not? 1 hour 40, is that too soon, in your opinion, for a jury to have come back?
I think anything under 3 hours is quick. An hour and a half, they will probably eat at some point, so I'm predicting under 3 hours.
All right, what about you, Jenny?
I was going to say I am predicting under 5. One thing I did want to mention is I did think that what the defense was trying to do was creative, and the best they could is that they actually got the ex-wife to admit that she was the one who introduced the choking into their marriage, and I thought that was creative for them to at least try.
Yeah, great point. Great point. What is the jury going to do? You're going to have to stay tuned to find out. We don't know either. They're still deliberating, but when we have a verdict, we'll let you know. Coming up next, we're also going to preview our next live trial. A former Border Patrol agent allegedly murders his mistress and their love child over child support. More details after the break.
I started hearing these stories about murder and stuff.
I'm about to be the biggest drug dealer that you can become.
Oh my God, are they starting a war with me or what?
I'm not gonna lie, it felt good to be a gangster.
She just points the gun right in my face. Just shoots me.
We knew that what we were doing had consequences, but we just didn't care.
Vice on Court TV, tonight at 7/6 Central, only on Court TV.
Opening statements are set for Monday in South Texas in the mistress and child murder trial. It will be Court TV's newest trial on top of all the other trials that we are tracking for you across the nation. A former Border Control agent is facing the death penalty for the stabbing deaths of his ex-girlfriend and her toddler son. Defendant Ronald Anthony Burgos Avilas is accused of killing 28-year-old Griselda Hernandez and their 1-year-old son, Dominic. Prosecutors believe the target was the baby due to an ongoing child support battle. For more on this case, here's our own Court TV anchor, Ted Rollins.
We are truly saddened by this horrific tragedy. Our heartfelt condolences go out to the victims, family, and friends. Customs and Border Protection is taking this allegation very seriously.
On Monday morning, April 9th, 2018, Griselda Hernandez and her 20-month-old son went to a Laredo, Texas park to meet with the child's father, Ronald Anthony Burgos Avilas. Hernandez was 27 years old, a single mother who was putting herself through nursing school. She wanted to meet with Burgos Avilas to ask him to help pay for daycare for their son, Dominic. According to court documents, Burgos was so furious that Hernandez would ask for child support because he was trying to keep his relationship with Hernandez and the birth of their son a secret from the woman he was living with when he killed Griselda and Dominic. The Webb County District Attorney told local station KRGV that Burgos was working his shift as a Border Patrol agent when he killed Griselda and Dominic.
The information we have is that he clocked in that morning at 6 a.m. and that we believe the murder occurred somewhere between 9:55 a.m. and 10.
The bodies of Griselda Hernandez and her son Dominic were found in a wooded, secluded area near the Rio Grande. They both had been stabbed multiple times. Burgos Avilas was considered the main suspect from the beginning. According to investigators, he made the 911 call asking for an ambulance.
He became the primary person of interest in the investigation early, the first few minutes of the case or hours of the case.
Burgos Aviles is facing 2 counts of capital murder.
The Webb County District Attorney is asking for the death penalty if Burgos is convicted, telling KRGV that it's because of how he allegedly used his background in law enforcement to commit the crimes.
He used his uniform and his specialized skill to carry out the crime, decide when, where, how he was going to do the crime, how he tried to cover up the crime.
Still with me, attorneys Jenny Brown and Franz Borgart. Franz, we were talking about the fact that you have handled death penalty cases. What is the most important aspect of it from your perspective when you go to defend someone that's facing the death penalty?
So as a defense attorney representing someone in a capital case, the most important job is to keep the defendant alive. It's not about guilt, even though that is something the defendant doesn't want to hear. It's about what mitigation, what tactic, what legal resolution can I provide that keeps the defendant alive? And once I do that, I've won. That's it. I'm a rescue diver. That's all my job is. That being said, this one's tough. You have a person in public trust killing a baby in a state that isn't afraid to use the death penalty. So mitigation experts have been hired and are working hard already on this case, I guarantee it.
And I'm from Texas, and I said that, oh, it's a Texas case, death penalty, and that baby is beautiful. All babies are beautiful. It just doesn't make sense. All right, Jenny, tell me what you think about the fact that he did, and Franz alluded to it, and Ted talked about it, he used his place of position, his authority as law enforcement in this crime, allegedly.
Yes, and Judge Ashley, I'm from Texas, so I thought the same thing when I heard this case, that, you know, if there's any death penalty case, this might be one of them. But this also hits home for me because it's a family law underlying issue, right? It started because she was asking for him to financially support this child. But I think that the prosecution's going to be able to make this case if he lured her to the park, and if they can show that he planned it and, you know, he killed them and placed their bodies there. I think it's likely going to be a result in a guilty verdict and a death sentence.
And we're going to be watching it all next week here on Court TV. Unfortunately, top of the hour, I have to say goodbye to my guests, Jenny Brown and Franz Borgart. But Franz, you're going to be back in the 6 o'clock hour. Up next, Michael Ayala. He's joining me as we talk about Corey Richens, the children's grief author, was in tears in court today. Stay tuned.